So, the last time you saw me in a VELOCITRON video, I said I would only do a part 3 if I met one prerequisite, and well, you're watching the video, aren't you? If you've been following me on Instagram, you know I posted that this video was coming out eventually, and it's because a certain video took 3 months to make. Anyways, it seems like there's going to be a VELOCITRON video every year, but this is going to be the last one. Because I got everything that was offered that I wanted. Of course, there was going to be one figure that I wanted, but that's a can of worms for later. Yep, got a mini fridge. Just don't mind her, she will go off at random points in this video, like right now. But anyways, we enter the final lap with crazy limited release items. One being in a silly situation of being one per case, and the other being prematurely cancelled during a short release window, but both purchased in the most scalper enraging move of buying both at Ross for $8. You may already know which figures I'm talking about, but let's set up two scenes for you. So, picture this. You wake up early in the early summer of 2022. You watch one of the many Hasbro Pulse live streams, and this is where they officially announce their Walmart exclusive subline. You're interested in Override, Blur, Scourge, and Cosmos. The date comes to pre-order the new figures from the VELOCITRON SPEEDIA 500 collection, and this is where the problems begin. Cosmos sells out everywhere immediately. The scalpers won, you think, and sure enough, the reason he sold out so fast was because he was low packed, being one per case, as in there is only one copy of the figure, when some figures like Blur or Road Rocket had 2 copies per box sent to stores, hence why both characters shelf-warmed like crazy. It was a ridiculous release, as both Hasbro and Walmart were blindsided by the actual massive demand there was for a new Cosmos figure. It was so frustrating to the point that some people in the Transformers team couldn't even track down their own copy of the figure. That wasn't the end of it though. After a short few months, we got a wave 2 of Crasher, Shadowstrip, and Galaxy Shuttle to coincide with the release of HasLab Victory Saber. If I recall, I think these 3 showed up out of nowhere, but eventually had acknowledgement from the Hasbro guys. This is where it gets interesting though. Apparently the VELOCITRON subline didn't do so good, so bring back that kind of worms, and basically we were gonna get a toy color repaint of Hot Rod, but it never came. In fact, the entirety of this wave on Pulse said that they were discontinued towards the final months of 2022. However, if you check Pulse today on any of the VELOCITRON Wave 2 figures, it'll just say that it's sold out. But I remember when this happened, a lot of people felt very hopeless that they would never get any of the figures, especially Galaxy Shuttle. The toy colors Hot Rod now sits in limbo with Hound and Hatchet. Well, just Hatchet now. Praise be to that upcoming 5-pack. Back on topic, but that's honestly a worse fate than straight up cancelization. Hopefully those 2 bots get their chance soon, because they cannot not do Hatchet, right? He's part of one of the best scenes in Dark of the Moon. Man, I really like saying anyway as a video transition to the next sentence. But anyways, late summer, early fall of 2023, people across the United States started to see many figures all across Ross stores. I saw a post and saw Cosmos, which engaged this mission to go through all the Rosses across my town to find him. Of course, woohoo! Mission successful, you're watching this video after all. Shadowstrip was an unplanned purchase because, to be frank with you, bought in celebration of getting my current job. Now that's established, let's talk about the toys themselves and not any bag. Here, why don't you say the line? I don't know if you noticed, but we are in the same circumstances as VELOCITRON Part 2, where we have a repaint and a newly featured mold to offer in reviews. So, repaint first. Shadowstrip, if you couldn't tell, is a repaint of Dragstrip. The elusive black repaint treatment is definitely a serve. She's by far the most non-G2 figure I have, second to Laser Optimus Prime. It definitely helps since she has no G2 Decepticon logos anywhere like the others. The lack thereof G2 Decepticon logos is definitely a factor into why I bought her, with her being the only of the G2 Stunticons that actually look spectacular. I guess the checkered flag pattern is like a G2 kind of thing, but I don't know, the way how it's designed makes it seem like something you'd see like on Wheeljack. You want one? Speaking of gold, my oh my, she is a beaut. Nothing screams regal like black and gold. I dig that it's all over her in major and minor ways, like on her chest, the little gold lines, or in major spots like her shoulders, legs, and wheels. The metallic light blue is an interesting choice, as it kind of turned me away from this figure initially, but with how little there is and the breakup of it, it kind of grew on me. There is definitely a legendary Skylanders vibe to this. Of course, looking at her face, where the color red shines as if she's embarrassed by something or lives in a desert, but it doesn't bother me in the slightest and works amazingly with the previously mentioned colors. Also, there's another thing that I couldn't really figure out how to show it with the shots of just the toys, but there's like little bits of dark gray charcoal plastic on her in some places, like on her forearms down to her crotch to her back. And honestly, I couldn't really figure out how to visualize that without just straight up just showing you in a part like this. So yeah, that's basically it for that. So now your regularly scheduled scripted parts. So let's go over the articulation for Shadowstrip, and I could do one of two things. One, not show you the articulation at all because it is just the same toy as Dragstrip, and I already went over that in the original Stunticons video. Or I could show you it because I'm not going to really rely on anybody having seen that video, because you never know, this could be someone else's first ever introduction to this mold, so that's why. Which is going to go forward for all other repaints that I will ever go over, so get used to it. So let's get right in. So the head's only on a swivel, you can only swivel 360, but I could barely get in there because tiny space and it's really tight. But yeah, so my fingers like blocked the whole thing, so yeah, looking to the left. The arms are on a mushroom peg, so they go 360, go all the way out, bicep swivel, 90 degrees at the elbows, waist swivel, leg goes that far forward, that far back, extends that far out, thigh swivel, bend at the knee, which is very, very interesting because small thighs, long lower legs, so it looks a little odd, but it's whatever. The foot does not go forward, but it does go back, but that's more so for transformation, and you got an ankle tilt. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really easy. You can also move these around if you want, but like you could do it inward or have it how I have it. And yeah, that's basically it. Most other people would complain, oh, no wrist swivels, but I don't care. As long as she can hold the gun, that's all that matters. So yeah. Seeing her next to her G1 colored self, and it's a literal night and day difference. Both accomplish different things, and I respect that. Dragstrip is to fill a slot for a combiner that people will leave together for eternity, and the newly named Shadowstrip is to hang out across the room in a bookshelf with her G2 comrades. Of course she can be swapped out, but I think it makes the combiner look very disjointed in the color department. The yellow of the original balances out with the other four Stunticons very well, and Shadowstrip adds too much black into the color pool. Alright, so now let's do the transformation for Shadowstrip, and same thing as articulation. I'm going to go over it because this could be someone's first introduction to this mold. So let's get right into it. So you take the guns off, obviously. Swivel these around, put those down. Same thing on the other side. Straighten these out. Open the whole chest. Fold in the head. Unlatch these up, forward. Tab them in up here. Then you tab them in down here, and then you swivel that, tab it in, tab the legs together, use that way swivel, put the feet back, yeah, open these panels, and accordion the legs in until they tab into this part, where the chest is, and then you close those panels, and you basically got the car. And that transformation is nice and simple. I like the end product because it's just like a nice, massive brick. Not really a brick, but a fully solid vehicle mode, and like virtually no kibble, even if there was, it wouldn't really matter. So, and also let's do the weapon storage. So let's put those in. And look at that. I will go into further details about the weapon storage a bit later, but just know the transformation is fun, nice and simple. The car mode is the same drag racer as the original toy, but in the luscious black, gold, and metallic blue. The sculpting also shines here the best, since the robot mode is mostly just bits of the car. The engine formed from her calves is amazingly sculpted, and the undercarriage as well, which if you remember are the front of her legs in robot mode. The car overall is slick with its shape and evokes the racing energy you should expect from a race vehicle. The weapon integration is also done well. They feel like appropriate extensions to the car for hovering War for Cybertron combat on the roads of VELOCITRON. It's definitely my favorite among the 5 Stunticons, or, well, between the 3 that actually have their weapons hanging out. Oh yeah. Shadowstrip's accessories are the same as the original drag strip, but fully in that same light metallic blue as the robot mode. And yes, you can still put the guns together and have a massive one for ultimate destruction! So that's Shadowstrip. I'm glad to have picked her up, especially with the bonus of it being $8. The Decepticon inclusion in the VELOCITRON line being so small is disappointing, but I'm glad we at least got 3 of them, and they really nailed down the uniformity, which I decided to match today. Hey, you're matching too! I guess we're really making those seekers proud today. Although I do find it silly that Hasbro had 2 similar looking cars come out in the same wave, considering they didn't do all the Stunticons in one wave for the regular retail stuff to not saturate the Decepticon car market. Now we must venture into new mold territory with the flag bearer of this race, Cosmos. And it looks like shit because of the lighting and the angles. So right out of the gate, the fact that this is an original mold is amazing, because originally it was just going to be a heavy remold of Origin Bumblebee, but by some miracle, Cosmos became his own toy. This is also what happened with Override, because she was just going to be a heavy remold of 86 Hot Rod, which obviously didn't happen, so that makes me kind of think that's why they were going to include him in the subline until he was sent to the void. I know you're probably not thinking at all that it would have made a lot of sense to pair them together, but you already know what was up with Cosmos during his original release. You were paying attention, right? Anyway, look at this cutie patootie in his full round glory. I told you bots like this are one of my weaknesses. Mega Empress. Why who said that? I like that Cosmos is taller than all the other mini-bots I have, except for that little piece of kibble that Braun has, which makes this argument fall apart. But it's like a sort of dominance over them, like he's trying his absolute best to win you over with his cuteness. Speaking of his cuteness, Cosmos' main attribute is an overload of right angles and circumferences with the tech greebles we've become accustomed to. Whether it's the circle parts on his forearms, the Hot Rod-esque wrist blasters, the trapezoidal shins, or the tiny little vents in his booties, he's full of sculpt. His chest is the most different from the rest of him, being blue and generally looking like there's a cassette bot in his chest. I say that only to cram in Cosmos' friendship with Soundwave from IDW in this video. You can't stop me. It does get a little bit redundant to talk about sculpt, not gonna lie to you, but that's the neat part of this. I can get creative with the words I say in this video. Cosmos' head sculpt is also extremely neat. It's very simple in its shape, looking like a gumdrop with the continuous little vent motif from his little booties. I know that toy guy brought this up ages ago, but yeah, it does look like Cosmos is wearing a Bahi. Or Mask of Time from Bionicle if you don't know. His eyes are the most eye-catching part of his head, as they are 1, a different color, and 2, the shape of them makes me want to pinch his non-existent little chubby cheeks. Overall, Cosmos' point is that he's a cute bot in the midst of cool or badass character types. A space-faring little guy. So let's do the articulation for Cosmos. So right off the bat, the head's on a bolt joint, so you can look all the way up, look all the way down. Looks very disappointed. He's got a head tilt. It's on a bolt joint. The arm can go 360, but if you go forward, it'll unlatch, but if you go backwards, it gets a little locked up, but it's alright. The arm goes out. Bicep / elbow swivel, because it's both. Also elbow joint, 90 degrees. And there's nothing at the wrist, and that's where a lot of other people would start complaining, but it doesn't really matter. Not really. It's got a waist swivel, but sometimes it could easily go through this little back piece, or it won't. I don't know. So technically it is 360, but it could get caught with the side skirts, but also it can't at the same time. I don't know, it's weird. The leg goes that far forward, goes that far back, and thanks to the side skirts being pinned, you can do the legs all the way out. It's got a thigh swivel, 90 degrees at the knee. These little booties have ankle articulation, which doesn't go very far, which that's alright with me. It doesn't have to go all crazy extendy, because remember, these are giant robots, not Spider-Man. So Yeah, I like his articulation. It's very nice, and it works. The accessories department is pretty sweet too. It's not much, but it's honest, and I like that. Cosmos, being the flag bearer of the race, means he comes with a flag, which is two-faced to have it be a checkered flag to end the race, or a white flag to signal there's a non-racer on the track. Or to be a white flag to show surrender to the Decepticons, only for Cosmos to flip the script and blast them! I definitely plan to do something with the blank side of the flag. I'm still undecided on what, but definitely something pertaining to me. Of course, Cosmos' blaster is blast effect compatible, which is always appreciated, and we'll touch on that again right after the So now let's transform Cosmos into his little... Well, I guess you'll just see right now. So obviously take the gun off, or gun slash flag. So then fold the hands away. Next, you want to unlatch the shoulders, and then you want to untab the whole backpack, and then you open this panel, swivel this around, push the head in so it goes all the way around, move the side skirts open, go to his feet, do his heels, pull them out, straighten his feet. Then you want to unclick the yellow piece behind his crotch and move it backwards. And then make sure you line it in here, and then at this point you can push in this piece. Then you can tap his feet together, fold the side skirts in until they tab into the legs, and then last but not least you just line up the arms, then you tab them in, and there you go, there's Cosmos. Probably the most simple Velocitron transformation. Actually, probably not the one. He is the most simple one, and I like that. Of course, you got weapon storage, which is very nice. So let's move right on to the next part of this video. The cuteness continues into the saucer mode. A UFO, unidentified flying object, or a UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Take your pick on what name you choose, but this is much more unique of a design than the standard saucer design. The details, such as these back boosters, or the top of his head just hanging out, or the front little phasers, which are blast effect compatible, are pretty neat. The colors also make Cosmos stand out so much more compared to the standardized saucer design of silver. I bet that one guy that painted the bisexualness out of Spinister would do that to poor old Cosmos. The cutie trash can takes all the robot bits and rearranges them into a proper circular shape. Of course, all the sculpting from the robot mode remains here with some more additions like the back of the entire saucer, since everything you see here is folded up in robot mode. I know someone would complain about these 5mm ports on the arms / sides of the saucer, and I honestly don't know how else they could have added the ports any other way, and it does help for weapon storage, which is pretty alright. Cosmos has one of my favorite alternate modes to be done in Transformers that isn't a wheeled vehicle, animal, or jet. If I recall, I think people weren't huge fans with these yellow bits showing themselves in the saucer mode, but I think a criticism like that is grasping for straws, just like hollow bits. So that's Cosmos. Does he live up to the hype? In my opinion, yes, absolutely. Is he worth the scalper prices? No, not at all. Wait for the mold's exclusivity contract thingy has dwindled and is re-released in the main line, which it's going to be, if you've seen the leaks. Whenever that blue repaint, that's what I'm talking about, comes out, I will be the first person to pre-order. We've reached the end of the video. The VELOCITRON trilogy is now complete. I'm definitely glad to have the opportunity to be at this point in my Transformers collection where the elusive Cosmos is in my hands. Who knows what surprises are in store for my collection in the coming days, months, and years. Hopefully the Starseeker's capsule line lives up to the hype of VELOCITRON, because the Toxitron collection fumbled in my opinion besides Cloud Cover and maybe Croc Mirage. So you're not going to speak for the end of the video? You got nothing to say? The mini fridge, everybody.